Okay. So that kind of makes it easy. I will show kind of at the end here, you know, in some people have gone to kind of use it with Ride with GPS. Actually, they've made it pretty slick to use your phone. And Dave's familiar with this from some of the Gaia application, where you can kind of load up routes in your offline mode. And you can do a lot of stuff on your phone. I'm not a huge fan of having a phone on my handlebars
Yeah.
or relying on that, but
Yeah.
I'll show that real quick. Although
Yeah.
I may not be able to show the phone interface part of it, but there is, you know, the ability to do that on the phone. But let's focus this on kind of doing things through a Garmin. Okay, so certainly stop me if I get going down, you know, any rat holes or whatever. But right now I'm in the Ride with GPS interface here, the dashboard. I think, as you alluded to, Mark, there are other ones out there. Strava. I'll show a little bit of Strava a little bit later on. They're getting there, and I think if they do what Ride with GPS has done, Strava is going to be the place to be in a year or two. I'm fully convinced of that. Just
Probably because of the community size, right?
community size and the fact their heat map is the big one. Like,
Yeah.
that's the huge one, and it's pretty cool. So I'll show you that one.
I always struggled with their editor though, because that just didn't feel.
It's getting better. It's
Yeah.
getting a lot better, but their editor still, they're way behind Ride with GPS. So I guess we'll focus on that today. So this is kind of the dashboard. You know, just I don't spend a lot of time here. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll be in the routes section, and this will give you an idea of kind of, this is now kind of chronological when I've done stuff, but just kind of scrolling down. So I've got 550 routes in here. These are all unique routes, but like a lot of them, and we'll see this today, how you use this. You can see, just like on a recent ride, you know, you go in and you build something and you say, you know, oh, okay, that's 50 miles. Maybe I want some options for guys to do a little bit more, a little bit less. So you edit a route to create something maybe slightly different. And, you know, you hit a different hill, or you cut this piece out, or you make a place that, so you have to save them all as individual routes. I need to go in and kind of clean this up. But in general, this is kind of how many I've done in here. And there's probably a whole bunch more that I've deleted. So let's get into, I guess, the route planner. And Ride with GPS just fairly recently has developed a new interface for their route planning. It's relatively new to me. I've just kind of started using it. So if I bounce around a little bit, you know, just the way that they've set the dashboard up here is a little bit different. But the basics of it is over here. Let's disregard these for now. Import existing and add new. Kind of the stuff that you're going to want to be working with the most over here is anytime you click something and you don't like it, you undo or redo stuff and clear the map. Fairly obvious what they do. Add to route is basically just what it sounds like. As you start clicking around, you'll click a point and continue to add to it.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you find somebody else's route and sort of use that as a base?
I was just going to add that.
Versus just rolling it from scratch.
For myself, almost zero. I may take some stuff either from Strava or from Ride with GPS, and I'll show you guys that as kind of how that works as well. For me, it's like just, and again, I'll get into it a little bit, but I'll use things like, just local knowledge, maybe a piece of someone's route, Google Satellite. There's some gravel maps out there. So a lot of this for me is going to be around gravel stuff. So, but for me, not that much, but for other people, you might well do that a lot. So I'll definitely show you that as well. That was Scott Harris.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Hey, Paul.
And here's some of the tools as you start to build your route that you can get into. So the basic functionality here is, you're going to have this add to route on here. Let me go up to, let me talk about the maps that are up here. These are kind of really some of the important things. So you have a number of map options up here, and the ones that I think you're going to mostly use, map is Google. They've licensed Google for their maps, so that's a kind of a key one. Everybody's familiar with these. I use satellite a lot just to kind of get an idea of kind of where things are. And it's, again, Google satellite stuff. And then the other big one is OSM cycle. So the OSM maps are the basic kind of open source maps that feed almost everything that's out there. You know, the Gaia maps are open source, Trailforks is open source. So these are the maps that, and I don't quite understand how this gets done, but people basically upload stuff to this open source database, and then they get pulled into all of these other mapping applications. This is the one that has like most of the trails on it. I use this even most of the time. It's pretty well laid out, and you know, I'll go back and forth with Google Maps, but to me, I like this. If you're doing a lot of road stuff, I would say Google Maps is great too. It's you know, pretty easy to work with. So just to kind of get you started, let's go up to a place we all know and just how this works. So I'd like to start a ride up at the Hollis High School up here, where we do a lot of rides from. We do gravel rides from here and road rides. I'm not even sure which road this is here, so I might just go real quick and go, oh yeah, there's the ball field, here's the, you know, the latrines, whatever. We park up here all the time, and start a ride up in here. So I'm gonna go back to OSM cycle. So the basic way that this works is just as you kind of click around in here, it's really smart. What it's trying to do, for good or for bad, is to find the fastest way between points. I mean, I can show you just at a highest level. I can come back down here into like Groton, pick a road, and it's going to find what it thinks is the fastest way to get there. Again, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not so good. It does things that you don't want it to do, so I'm just going to undo that. But let's say you were kind of poking around up in Hollis, and you wanted to, you know, go over towards Beaver Brook and, you know, come down here just by clicking. And every time you click, it creates this little circle here. And this is probably the key concept of the whole Ride with GPS, of these circles. And these are called control points. So anytime you have a control point, your route is going to go through that. So as you start to edit routes, if it sees a circle, it's going through that thing. So this is what, when people start to muck around with routes and wonder, like, why is this thing doing all kinds of weird, crazy stuff? It's because of these control points. So just kind of keep that in mind, you know, as we're going through this, the control points. So I'm just, you know, building a route here. You can, if you want to say, for some reason, you know, a lot of times I'll do this like on gravel rides to either identify maybe class 4 roads or things to be, you know, sometimes I'll put in different colors for caution. So I put in a black, so you can change the color here to identify something that might be important to you, like that section is something to watch about. And you could, not sure if within the tool, if you can identify what those mean, but I might put those in an email, like black is caution or whatever. And then some of the things that are going to happen as you're kind of building these routes. So you guys probably all know this little section. So we're coming down and we want to go in behind Camp Tevye. So I'm going to go into Camp Tevye. Okay, well, I didn't want to do that. So there's something going on when you're clicking up in here and it's not going where you want it to go. Something's going on that it's not seeing. So, okay, I got to undo those two things. And sometimes it's the case, maybe let's change over to the Google map and see if Google sees this road. So Google saw it in this case. So it's a case of like OSM Maps didn't see that as a road, but Google did. Let's suppose we stayed in OSM, and I'm going to undo what I did in there. So one of the things, if I'm staying in the OSM maps, I can get to here. You'll use this a lot. Again, for road riding, maybe not so much. Most of this stuff is identified. Is you use this draw line function. And what this does, basically, you've now got away from following the road, but you're drawing your own line. And you just, what you can do, you can kind of draw it quick if you want, and then kind of drag it back to actually follow it. Or you can just kind of go click, click, click a whole bunch of times, do whatever you want until you get to a place. Now, I think because this trail is a little bit more identified, I think that this is probably something pretty good. So I'm going to follow that. This comes up to like Mason Road, where we've been a million times. You guys maybe know that. I'm going to start following some trails to start working back towards Hollis. And let's say come down to, now I wanted to go, so I clicked that. And again, so I clicked, I wanted to come across this trail and down here. So what, again, Ride with GPS does, it's always looking for the shortest way to get someplace. It said, you're not doing that. So, okay, I don't like that. So I'll undo it. And I'll just, if you go with shorter clicks, it doesn't have that choice. It's always, again, looking for the shortest way to get there. So now I've come down here. Again, just following these trails. I'm going to come across here. So this is an interesting one. You'd say, well, something's going on here. Why did I clicked here, but when it finds an asphalt road or a road that's not a trail, it thinks, okay, that's faster. So I'm going to change that on you. So I have to undo that, and let's see if it will follow for me here. So it actually will follow. You have to kind of basically outsmart the Ride with GPS to say this is the way it needs to go. So that's some of the basics on that. I'm going to show you some things up in this area. Don't pay any attention to like kind of where we're going in between here. These are some things, again, when you get into trails that you're going to see. So I'm following the trail here, and I want to go, basically I want to go up here. So I'm going to click in here. All right, so that's weird. This should be like, what, again, your undo button will be your best friend. So I'm clicking in here, clicking in here, clicking in here. Okay, so you know now something weird's going on. So
Hey, Paul, can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
Click back to where you were, where it did it screwed up. Just so it's doing it the wrong way.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is now if you over to the left, like on the main road, if you click, you can actually, if you click along the red line, but on the main road, you can actually, it'll kind of like how you were dragging line before when you were doing line movement.
Yep.
It'll create a point and you can drag it to the right spot. So you don't have to keep hitting undo.
Yep, I think I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
I think
so
in this case though, I think, see, you're gonna see in this case, because I've looked at this one earlier, Brandon,
because
I know exactly I know what you're talking, so good, that's a good point.
And the other thing I was going to suggest is, especially if you're doing trails, sometimes it's best to change it from cycling to walking.
Oh, that's a good
From in the routing options,
where
next
is
to
that,
draw
Brandon?
lines. Now go to the left, and
Oh,
where it says
down
cycling,
here?
change
And
it to walking, and now
Okay.
click.
And I can tell you in this, I bet you it works,
Oh,
but
it's decided something else.
I know why this one doesn't work, and this is where you need to come in. For some reason, sometimes with OSM, see how they didn't connect? This didn't get connected. So when this map got uploaded, there's no connection here. So if you basically what I would do in this case, whether walking or cycling, I would just come in here and now draw a couple lines, boom, connect up in there, maybe one more line so you're fully in it, follow roads. So it's those connection points. You need to kind of sometimes, and there's a lot of these actually, it's funny with these OSM maps, you think it's all good, but it's not. So it was, nothing I did was going to allow me to go across that road right there, whether I dragged it like Brandon mentioned or changed to walking, it was, there's nowhere for it to go. So it was always going to route around that. So zoom in really tight. And whenever you kind of know there's something there, just draw a line and you'll get through it.
And also just while I was on it, if you guys are doing more gravel planning than road planning, changing the routing to walking does help a lot because the thing that Paul's been saying about it prefers roads because it's faster. If you're walking, it's always shortest distance and it will ignore roads and everything. So
that's good. I'm going to pull that back. There's one for me. So is that, did they have that on the old interface too, Brandon?
They did. It just wasn't a drop down. It was like a radio button thing.
Okay. Well, let's try that.